If you've been following these videos or reading my books, you'll have noticed that I talk a lot about awakening. That's because it's so essential if we are to live with the fullness of life that allows the love that we receive to flow through us into the world. But awakening is only possible if we understand our default posture of spiritual sleep. Spiritual sleep involves many things, but at its core is confusing fantasies and illusions for reality. It's being caught up in a waking dream of our own making. And the reason we remain in that dream state is, in the words of W.H. Auden, that we would rather be ruined than be changed. We would rather die in our dread than climb the cross of the moment and let our illusions die. It's painful to let go of illusions, sometimes even terrifying. It may feel like you're losing yourself, and in one sense, you are. You're losing the false self you've created. And what you're realizing is the truth of yourself. But the loss of your familiar illusions and defenses is real. And your vulnerability is also very real. Written around 300 BCE, Plato's allegory of the cave presents a picture of the way illusions are easily mistaken for reality. It's a story about people who've spent their whole life chained to the wall of a cave. They watched shadows projected on the wall they faced as objects passed in front of a fire behind them. These shadows were the prisoners' reality. They gave them names and assumed that this was true seeing. Plato then tells of one prisoner who was freed, and after initially being blinded by the light outside the cave, returns to free the others. But they want nothing of it. They were content with the pseudo-reality of their illusions, preferring the safety this provided over the freedom of leaving the cave. Until we awaken, we are a prisoner in that cave. But each moment of awakening is a moment of enlightenment. And with the light that comes with that, we see things we've never seen before. We see through our illusions, and we begin to see reality as it truly is. There's another allegory about awakening that I want to share with you. This one offered by C.S. Lewis in his book, The Great Divorce. This book presents an allegory of heaven and hell that I find extremely applicable to the journey of awakening. The story follows a group of friends as they take a bus trip from purgatory to heaven. The trip begins in the gray and dank city where they live and proceeds up through increasingly pleasant and then stunningly beautiful countryside on the outskirts of heaven. When they finally arrive, they notice, however, that heaven is not what they expected. For all its beauty, it did not feature pearly gates or streets of gold, nor did it engender warm and fuzzy feelings. Instead, it had a harshness that took their breath away. Lewis and his friends were suddenly filled with fear. Against the bright, heavenly landscape, they notice that they're fully transparent, merely what he describes as stains on the brightness of the air. They sense that they're ghosts. They lack substance and seem unreal in the light of the terrifying reality of heaven. Everything around them is much more solid than them, or than anything they have ever seen. Grass is sharp and hard. Walking on the grass in their bare feet is painful, and they notice that their steps don't even bend a single blade of heavenly grass. They also notice that they're unable to pluck a flower or pick up a leaf. Everything in heaven is heavy and hard, like diamonds. In contrast, they see that they're so insubstantial that they're transparent. Now, what's interesting about this is that they thought their world was real and fully substantial, and they expected heaven to be less substantial, more spiritual. But it seems they had everything backward. Confronted by the real, everything that they had previously thought to be real is shattered. Slowly they begin to realize that heaven is the land of substance and earth the land of shadows. Earth is built on illusions, whereas heaven is reality itself. Suddenly they also realized that in order to fit into heaven, they had to become not less solid, but more solid. They realized that they were shallow people who lacked substance, and that if they were not changed, heaven would be a terrifying place to be. They realized that they could not live there, nor would they want to unless they could first become more real themselves. Well, this is just the bare bones framework of a wonderful story that you might want to read yourself. But let's notice what this says about awakening. Awakening is becoming aware of the illusions that we mistook for reality. But reality has a harshness to it that's disturbing until we release our resistance and fully embrace the truly real. Take time to reflect on these two allegories. Although their details differ, their basic point is the same. Consider how they illuminate your own experience. Be well, and bye for now.